course, I mentioned earlier I am Alan, or dwangoAC. I have an interesting laptop here that I'd like to show you. This is a System76 laptop, and in general this presentation is 100% live demo. I don't have any fancy slide deck. I'm just going to talk about the experience of ordering this laptop and what the out-of-box experience was like, and what Ubuntu looks like in 2017, because quite frankly, I hadn't looked at it in a really, really long time. So hopefully I'm audible on the stream well enough and visible on the stream still. Oh, I got a little shorter. I got a little shorter. Okay, so this laptop I have in front of me here is a laptop by a company named System76. Now, System76 is kind of a boutique laptop manufacturer of sorts. Their unique characteristic is that they make laptops that are specifically designed to ship with Linux out of the box. And in this case, they're currently shipping an operating system that you've probably heard of before. It's Ubuntu with the classic Unity interface. So it's not too crazy yet. Even their new proposed operating system, which they're calling Pop OS, is going to be just a rebranded distribution of Ubuntu. It's not really that fancy. But I can say one thing about this system. They do a lot of work to make this guy work in Linux without any problems, and I have been pleasantly surprised. I had one little glitch I'll tell you about later, but it was easily solvable, and it was even logical as to why I ran into the problem. So I'm going to quickly describe which laptop I got and why I got it. Now, to put this into context, I'm currently streaming from, and I'll show you my setup right now, I'm currently streaming from a MacBook Pro. And oh wow, that Hall of Mirror effect is fun. Anyway, and I just realized, by the way, you guys cannot currently draw. Button-up shirt and all. Yeah, I know. I look fancy tonight. There's people online in chat making fun of the fact that I'm wearing a collared buttoned-up shirt. This is what I look like all the time.
They want you to have a tie on, or what?
No, they want me to have a geeky shirt. Yeah, they expect a t-shirt. For those in the room that don't know my alter ego, I am dwangoAC on Twitch, and I have a robot that plays video games for me at charity events, and as a result, I've now got something like 3,000 plus people who follow me on Twitch and only know my gaming side, which inevitably is more snarky t-shirt wear than it is business shirts. So some of them are probably thinking, what the heck? I need to restart this and restart this. And now anyone in chat can type a color followed by a number, and it will paint by number. And let's see, what's our painting today? We're going to do something simple. So let's do a tetrasphere. There you go. So you guys, if you want, you get bored in the middle of my talk, by all means feel free to connect at twitch.tv/dwangoAC, and you will be able to ignore me entirely and paint by number on this little thing on the side here. And in fact, yes, somebody just made it pink. So anyway, it's a fun thing we do. All right, so let me get back to my actual talk here. I had this laptop, this MacBook Pro, and at the time I got this MacBook Pro, it was $3,300 in 2013. It came with a quad-core, 8-thread processor, 16 gig of RAM, 512 gig SSD, decent video card, NVIDIA video card, decent system in general, right? Retina display. So it was a good MacBook, right? Now, with that context in place, this laptop that I'm showing you right now, this System76 Oryx Pro is a model name, cost $2,720. It's not a cheap laptop, but interestingly enough, it's actually cheaper than the MacBook Pro that I'm replacing. From a performance perspective, this new laptop is obviously going to be newer in a lot of respects. It's going to have better specifications. And it does. It has a newer processor from Intel. It's still quad-core, 8-thread, just like the old one. There's one characteristic that you can go a little farther with on the System76 laptops than you can on a MacBook Pro. On a MacBook Pro, the most you can possibly go to is 16 gig of RAM. It is not possible to put more than 16 gigabytes of RAM into a MacBook Pro today, still. which is crazy in 2017. If you want to run virtual machines or anything like that, that just doesn't make any sense to me. This laptop can go up to 64 gigabytes. I didn't go that crazy. I stopped halfway there and went to 32 gig of RAM. That seemed like enough memory to me, but then again, Bill Gates said 640K ought to be enough for anybody, right? Or did he? No one knows. I did go with 32 gig because I do plan to run virtual machines and potentially install cubes on this. That is a project for later. So I got this with 32 gig of RAM. That's nifty. I got it with same 512 gig SSD, not the exact same drive, but the same capacity. So what did we get that's different substantially from 2013 to 2017 and with this new vendor? Well, the biggest thing is by far the insanity of the video card that's in this thing. And I'm going to demonstrate that. So I know that it's kind of lame that I'm pointing a camera at the screen, but it's what I could do quickly, so bear with me here. I know it's not going to be the most visible, but it'll be good enough. So I'm going to log into the default Ubuntu install and try not to knock the table over. And this is what it looks like out of the box. There's a small wizard that runs out of the box that allows you to set up your user and a few other things, but it's really not all that fancy. One sec, let me make you all sick for a moment. There we go. Okay, so super high-tech camera grab here. I'm going to start the NVIDIA with their crazy launcher, and here is the video card that is in here. I would like to point out that this video card does not say M. This is not a mobile graphics card. They packed a real honest-to-goodness GeForce GTX 1070 with 2048 CUDA cores into this laptop. And the way they did that, if there's any gamers in here that understand the significance of this is a nutty. This is like one down from the top-level graphics video card that you would find in a desktop.
So how many minutes of battery life do you
Yeah.
have?
Let's get back to that later, shall we?
Count among those who's impressed by that.
At least one of you was impressed. So it's kind of hard to see in this lighting, but there we go. So the way they get away with that is massive, massive grills to get rid of all that heat. And it's not just one side either. There's another one over here too. So
Does this company sell Windows machines too?
you can install Windows on it. Oh yeah, that's completely upside down, but that's how I had to do it.
I'm just thinking they did a lot of special design here.
No, they didn't. We're going to talk about that here. Hang on. There we go. Upside down. So that's a big grill for heat. And let me tell you, I noticed it. There's heat that dumps out of there. It's it's pretty hot.
It's not a laptop.
It's a laptop.
You wouldn't want to look on your
It's a leggable.
You know, the bottom stays surprisingly cool. I have to give them credit. They do a really good job of pushing the heat out the back and out the side. But let's talk a little bit about where this laptop actually came from. With my Uber laptop GPU, huh? Now mine bitcoins. I'm not going to mine bitcoins on this, you guys. Again, anyway. Okay, so this is going to be one of those talks where I'm just not really completely focusing very well. So this laptop has a dirty little secret. And the dirty little secret is this is just a Clevo laptop. And Clevo is a company that sells laptops with certain features in them as white box labels. And anyone can take a Clevo laptop and rebrand it and resell it. What makes System76 different is that they took the Clevo laptop and they put System76 on the back. Oh, and they also did a lot of other work to make sure that everything in the system works out of the box with Linux. That's not necessarily true if you go grab a Clevo laptop off the shelf as an open box. I actually considered buying a Clevo, and what led me to go back to the System76 was I just felt a lot more comfortable that each component in there was already qualified to work with Linux. They specifically picked the keyboard. And wow, this is a fun little keyboard. Allow me to demonstrate. Pick a color, any color. So yeah, I know it's just showing off, but you can definitely rotate through a couple of predefined colors.
Ooh, that's cool.
Yeah, I happen to like the red. The red is so nice. Anyway, My camera is supposed to be 60 frames per second, and it is decidedly not, and I'm not about to try to fix that right now. It's supposed to be 60 frames per second, but it's acting kind of funny. That's a putrid color. I think I'm going to change that.
Is there a fingerprint scanner in your clicker?
Why, yes it is. That works perfectly with F-print. Is that what the name of it
I
is?
think that's what you
Is it
posted
F-print or
on there.
G-print? I think it's F-print. However, let's talk about that for a second. I like two-factor authentication. I like it when those two factors do not include something that can be cut off of my persons. So, yes, I could use my finger to swipe and unlock my laptop, but I personally choose not to. If I'm going to go with two-factor authentication, I'm going to do it with a YubiKey. So I have here a YubiKey that works fantastic in Linux. So if I need to, I can two-factor off of that. And yes, you can steal this from me, but at least I still have all my fingers. So maybe I'm a little bit paranoid about this. Okay, so I'm going to switch over to talking a little bit more about why I picked this specific laptop, because this is a heavy laptop. You should not immediately run out and pick this same laptop. It may not meet your needs. This laptop weighs a lot. This is a good pound heavier than my MacBook Pro. So if you guys are familiar with the weight of a MacBook Pro, hey Jack Dubs, good to see you here. If you're familiar with the weight of a MacBook Pro, this is a good pound heavier than one of those on the 15-inch variety, not the 13th. So it's not exactly light.
So is that a 15-incher?
This is a 15-inch. Technically, I could put a 17-inch screen on it, but I'm a snob and decided to go with the 15-inch 4K display. So, and yes, the high DPI works. It really does work. Now, what
function key to change the keyboard color?
what's the function key? Here, I'll zoom way in. You can actually see right there. See that slash? Come on, come on,
The slash, so it looks like the 8 or something.
come on.
There it is.
Sort of. It can do better. If it puts its mind to it, it can do better. There we go.
There we go.
So there's a function key. Now let's talk about this keyboard for a second because this might piss some people off. The order of the keys is Control, Function. Look at that. Yep. Oh no, come on, camera.
Ubuntu logo.
Yeah, if it would ever behave. Come on. Let me.
So the window.
If you put your hand real quick in front, it
Yeah.
should focus.
Wah.
Yeah, the control's way out in the end. It's pretty awkward.
Now compare that to my MacBook Pro. The MacBook Pro is Function, Control, Alt or Option, and Command, which is the same thing as Super. So, yeah, that's going to throw some people off. I'm getting used to it.
Lock?
Why is there a caps lock? I map it to Escape, so don't ask me.
The first thing to do is swap Control and caps lock, and then you can do the word start commands.
Swap? Nah,
No.
just map them both. Why do you need
Yeah.
Why do you need caps lock at all today?
Sometimes I use caps lock.
Well, then map it to something else.
It should be, it should be the shift lower control. Shift after caps lock.
I love that people in chat are actually taking me at my word, and they've decided to go with a pastel theme for the colors. Anyway, so about this screen, this is a really, really nice screen, until it isn't.
IPS.
Yes,
Touchscreen?
this is not a touch screen. Does not do touch screen.
That's a bonus.
That's a bonus.
Yeah, it keeps fingerprints off your screen.
I have to say I agree with that, although I do know people who really like
My
touch
girlfriend's
screens.
Dell is a 4K touchscreen like that, and you go to point at something on the screen, you accidentally touch it and close the window, or it's
That's
really annoying.
got to be obnoxious. Well, this is going to be the most horrible thing I have done to anyone in a long time. I am going to show you a picture of a photo I took of a screen using a camera pointed at my screen. Anyway, I apologize for doing this. A couple of days after I got the laptop, can you see those vertical lines in there?
Yeah, they're like shadows.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah, those developed. Well,
Dirty screen effect.
what seems to have happened is that every other vertical line in this screen failed. Every other line.
Funnel purple?
And they failed slowly, and now they're all 100% dead. So my 4K resolution screen is actually a 2K resolution screen, And you can kind of see this in, like if I bring up that NVIDIA again, you might not be able to quite see it. Let me see if I can actually get close enough. You know what, this might not even be good enough. Let me open up a terminal here. Except that one's black. Well, actually it might work. Ooh, perfect. So if I can get this close enough, which might be a bit of a challenge, if I get it to behave, come on, you can do this.
Do the hammer.
Wow.
It did not like that.
There you go. Oh,
Almost.
okay.
Okay, so, and you can't even see because it's, okay. What you cannot see with this camera is that it looks like everything is horribly, awfully anti-aliased for no good reason. And what seems to have happened is this display literally lost every other line of pixels. And you end up with these really, and I'll show you guys afterward. So I saw the screen degrading and it getting worse, and then it had these weird like strobe effects almost, or starburst, or weird lights around the edges. And then it actually got better after that because all of them died. I contacted System76, and within 2 hours they said, that's no good. We're sending you a replacement laptop.
Nice.
So that'll be here by the end of the week. And they're not just replacing the screen, they're sending me an entirely new laptop. So it started out just fine, where it was nice and crisp and clean, and I set it up overnight to do some updates, and when I got up the next morning, woke it up, and the screen was just nutty. And I have to say I appreciate companies that actually stand by their warranty. So this is clearly a DOA. It was a burn-in thing. It happens. The bathtub curve, if you're familiar with that concept, dictates that your highest rate of failures will be at the very beginning, and then you'll reduce your likelihood of failures, and then they increase as the object gets old. This was definitely at the very beginning of the bathtub curve, maybe 8 hours of screen time when it failed. So I'm happy with the warranty.
Will you back up?
Will I what?
How will you
back
move your
up?
data from this laptop?
So
to
I
the other?
asked them about that, and their support department was, again, amazing. They said, sure, you can move your M2 hard drive over, no problem.
Yeah,
So
you just pull it out,
yeah.
put it in the new one.
Yeah, and unlike some operating systems, Windows, it's not going to care about the fact that the MAC addresses change out from underneath it. It won't really care much. So, overall, my experience with System76's support has been pretty good. I had a lot of difficulty getting a hold of their sales team, and my understanding of the situation is they're just freaking busy. They are growing like crazy. They are moving toward making their own, not Clevo purchased, but their own in-house laptops, which is a pretty big development effort.
Wait a minute.
Yes.
You could get a hold of tech support, but not sales? I mean,
Yeah,
isn't that a
it's kind of
complete
broken.
reverse?
Imagine that. Yeah. I had a response back from tech support within a couple of hours. I left a message I couldn't find a way to navigate the phone tree to wait on hold for the sales team. It only ever redirected me to a mailbox. So I called a couple times, and when I got tired of only ever being redirected to a mailbox, I left a message. And that was 3 weeks ago, and I haven't heard anything from them. So I don't know if I just called the wrong number because I'm stupid, or I don't know. It could be anything. If I had sent them an email, I'm sure I would have ended up with someone from sales. They actually have a thing on their website where you can open a request, and I just never did it. I'm sure if I had gone through that route, I probably would have had a response pretty quick. But I also managed to mention in the support ticket that, hey, I'm doing a talk. Is there any way that my replacement laptop will arrive by the time of my talk? And they said, no, but tell us all about it. That sounds cool. We're copying the marketing team. And the marketing team definitely got back to me. So I have so far completely positive interactions with System76. I'm pretty happy with overall with the build quality. There are some things that I miss, right? Because I came from this MacBook Pro. And if I show you what this looks like at profile, you see how there's just this thin little edge. It's a pretty thin laptop. Compare that to this beast. But then again, this one has, yes, it's taller, but it also has a real desktop gaming graphics adapter in it. So I can't get too irritated at the fact that it's a little bit thicker. I do miss the nice rounded edges. And I also am kind of not thrilled, and it's going to be hard to pick this up on the camera. Actually, maybe you can see it right here. See how there's a lot of splotchiness right here? That's just oil from my skin. It really, really shows on this surface. I assume eventually I'll coat the whole thing with body oil. That's disgusting. Forget I said that. But I mean, I assume in time that it's going to change.
Just on your way out of town, stop at CVS and get alcohol wipes.
Alcohol wipes? Yes, I will get alcohol wipes. I'm sure that will help. So
It's a patina.
it's a patina. That's disgusting in more ways than I want to contemplate.
What is the material?
It seems to be,
Right? It's not aluminum.
ABS.
you know, I can't tell. It looks like a
Aluminum.
brushed aluminum, but it doesn't.
Aluminum should feel
Doesn't sound
cooler.
like it.
Some kind of coating.
I know it is aluminum because it conducts electricity. The way I know it conducts electricity is because I kicked back after a long day, and I had the laptop in my lap, and I had it plugged into my non-grounded outlet. Although this does have a grounded plug on it. Ow, ooh, that was... Wowza, don't do that. I think this has a grounded plug, but I think I have a ground fault. And I put my feet up on my metal cart, which was connected to my
You were a loop, huh?
as I ran my finger across this surface right here, you could feel like a resistance. You could feel an electrical, it's definitely metal, at least somewhat, because it conducts electricity. It felt really weird. Oh, hey, empty fan, that's a lot of gold. Golding it up there, huh? Someone just went completely crazy with
By
the chat.
numbers.
Yeah, it's okay. I don't mind. So I'm going to move on to a little bit more stuff about System76. Now, I could have screen captured. I actually have a capture card that I could set up with this, but I just didn't want to bother to do that. So I apologize in advance that this is just pointing a camera at my screen. All right, Pet Man, I'll see you later. If people in the chat want to get my attention, please say my name so I actually notice you. So there is a System76 driver tool. It's pretty bland. Wow, that didn't work out well at all. Okay, there we go. Actually, that looks pretty sharp. So if you need to update drivers, if there are updated drivers, you can do it through here. And this will also tell you what you have installed. So there's brightness hotkeys, high quality audio. There's an SPDIF, or SPDIF? Who knows how to pronounce that word? It's just an unpronounceable. SPDIF. SPDIF. SPDIF.
Sony Philips Digital
Interface.
Interchange.
All I know is if you're not spitting when you say it, you're not saying it right. And then they have a couple of other things. You can create log files using this button here. So they have their own tool, and it's really cool that they have their own Linux-based tool to do this. I chose to go a different route, and there's one really obvious reason for why. And it has to do with the fact that Unity is not only a dead-end street because Ubuntu has announced that they are, Canonical has announced that they are discontinuing support of Unity, it also sucks. So I'm going to open up Firefox in an empty profile here, and I will demonstrate why it sucks. So right now I have Ubuntu start page. Okay, well that's well enough. And I've got my tab here. And in the upper left, it helpfully says, come on, helpfully says Firefox web browser. Wow, that just went way the heck out of focus. There we go, Firefox web browser. However, if I, and the other thing, if I hover up here, suddenly this turns into your classic file, edit, view, history, all that stuff. But if I do this, suddenly, instead of saying what it used to, now it says Ubuntu start page, Mozilla Firefox. And if I hover over it, all my buttons appear. I cannot tolerate that. Plus, they put the buttons on the wrong freaking side. All the buttons are on the left. Now, I know this works out for certain operating systems, but dang it, I want the customization ability to put those things back where they belong because I have an opinion on where this is supposed to be. Installing Arch? I'm not installing Arch. And I have to say that it dying off is probably a good thing. So I'm going to log out of Unity because be gone. I don't want you here. Just was not doing it for me. Now the nice thing is, it is possible to go to a repo and install Cinnamon. and it even works. Now the start screen, the login screen, of course, doesn't change, but
I've never seen cinnamon.
you've never seen Cinnamon?
No.
Cinnamon is a treat. Never mind. Sorry. Bad pun. Bad pun.
How does it relate to mint?
Well, we're going to get there.
It
So,
has a dot.
so Cinnamon is a shell on top of GNOME 3 in the same way that Unity is a shell on top of GNOME 3. It's just
But it attempts to look like GNOME 2.
exactly, and it doesn't suck at it either. You have a traditional start menu in the left. When you start Firefox, there's a couple of nice things that happen. You get blasted with white light, but you get your buttons where they freaking belong.
So it looks more like Windows?
No, it looks like GNOME 2.
Okay.
Which looks like Windows.
Yeah, I like my stuff to look like TWM because that's what I started with.
Sure, you can do that. I don't care. Now, I happen to have this launcher called Kupfer, which, well, that is not showing up well in this brightness. You can see the screen can get really bright. I have a key combo where I can search for files and do various things through an app called Kupfer, and that was broken in Unity. It doesn't work there. It works fine there. Screen brightness, which was kind of bright there, sometimes works and sometimes doesn't. What I've found is, this is one of the glitches that made me go, ha! If I boot into Unity, log out, and then boot into Cinnamon, my screen controls don't work, my brightness controls don't work. My keyboard brightness controls, which appear to be BIOS controlled, like these, seem to work fine. Like those work okay, but yeah, the screen controls, I don't know. I think it might fix it if I close the lid, but that one thing was enough to make me go, no, I'm done. So I blew it away. I ignored... Oh, I don't have gparted. Well, we'll fix that. How about disks? Do I have disks? I have disks. Okay, so I chose to take my 512 gig really, really nice hard drive. I have a, you know what, it's actually not showing the model there. I have a really nice, very fast, high transfer rate hard drive. I copied from this partition, right, my finger's right in the way. I copied from the Ubuntu partition over to a home partition. I moved my data, and it was something like, how much is free there? I can't actually see. It was something like 30 gig, and it finished in 2 minutes. It just blew me away. I've never, I mean, maybe a minute and a half. It was insane. The transfer rates were literally, I looked at it and I was shocked. It said 400 megabytes a second.
Oh, wow.
Of data transfer on the solid state drive. Anyway, it's just ridiculous. And by the way, I'm not saying all this stuff to brag and sound like I'm better than you because I got a newer laptop. It's just this is what you can buy in 2017 for a lot of money, but not an unreasonable amount of money. Yes.
Which one is it? Is it a Samsung 960 Pro? Or?
I can look it up on the order. In fact, what the heck? Why don't we go play around with that in just a second? More on that in just a moment, because we're gonna load up that System76 page in just a second. So in my case, I like having a separate home partition. So I repartitioned it so that I have a home partition that's separate, and I left swap, and I have all of 1.4 megabytes of free space afterward because partitioning still kind of sucks. There is an EFI partition to boot from. This is fully EFI setup. So I have Ubuntu, and I also have partition 5, and if you look real careful there, Mint. And I gave it 176 gig. I gave Ubuntu 68 gig. You can tell which one I care more about. So we're going to reboot because I am so done with being in Ubuntu. Now the nice thing is, though, they're both sharing the same home directory. So, because I moved my home directory separately. Now the fun part...
So you're not using encrypted partitions?
I am. That's the fun part. More on that later. That's a bit of a mess. Yes, you can. You simply have to get the right encryptFS data into both OSs, and then it's fine. You can do it. I just haven't bothered. In fact, let me find out, because maybe I have bothered.
Does EFI get tweaked when you do something like that?
Well, yeah, if you do it right. No, I've got it. I have it right. I have, yeah, that's definitely my home directory contents. I know you cannot see that on the screen to save my life, but that's okay. You don't want to see what's in there anyway. It's like showing somebody your sock drawer. You just don't want to do it. Untitled, Untitled 2, Untitled 3, Untitled 3 important.
My sock drawer is way more organized than my home drawer.
That's interesting. So I do have plain old grub. I'm going to let it go into Mint here in a second if you get the screen to not freak out. Come on. You can do it. You can do it. It's thinking about it. There we go. Almost. If I could just hold still long enough.
Just back out a little bit more.
Okay, so you can almost see it. Anyway, this is Mint. So it defaults to Mint. You can see I don't really use Ubuntu much, and in fact, I may eventually just nuke it to give up the space.
But cubes.
But cubes? That's coming. Wow. Okay. So this is Linux Mint native. Now I do have an encrypted home directory only. I didn't encrypt the entire file system. I used Deja Dupe to restore a backup of all my data, and that worked incredibly well. Oh, and I also have Redshift, and it's thinking it should make it red, and I'm going to make it stop doing that. There we go. So really, there's not a whole lot that's all that interesting. I have the same NVIDIA. I have the same same setup. Now my color scheme is respected, which is nice. You might notice that everything's nice and bright, and kind of muted colors. I prefer this because I don't like having bright light hitting me at night. I have all of the things I would normally have. My TMUX sessions are all set up. I've just restored everything. So from my when I moved my data over, I used Linux Mint's backup tool to back up all of the packages that I had previously installed, and I used Deja Dupe to back up my home directory. I then installed all my packages and then restored all the data from my home directory. And what I got was a system that, for all intents and purposes, is identical. I still have Thunderbird. I still have everything I would normally have. It worked out surprisingly well out of the box. I was very happy. I only had to make a couple of tweaks to change things that were config files. But I was okay with that. I really didn't have that many changes. I needed to change the SSH config to not allow password login and to tell it that I'm only allowing if you have a key. So no password login. A couple things like that. But overall...
Does Deja Dupe have a key?
Have a key? What do you mean?
An encryption key.
Well, I'll give you two answers to that. I encrypt my Deja Dupe data with my GPG data. I'm using GPG to encrypt. And as part of that, I am encrypting it with a specific set password that's different than unlocking my GPG key. So don't hurt your brain. Basically, the reality is that it doesn't really matter that much.
Okay.
You can do a restore with only the password to the database backup. I'm sorry, to the backup file. That's all you need. So if you encrypt your backup, you're going to go to a system that doesn't have GPG yet. It's not there yet. The restore process, you use the key that you used to encrypt it, that you set, and that's all you need. So if you don't forget that. But so I was pretty happy with how that worked out. Let's see, what else would I want to show you in Mint? Probably not a whole lot. I mean, maybe I could be a bit of a jerk and show you this in really, really large font and probably a much smaller screen. Let's do 80 by 24, because that seems like the classic size. And make it really big so you guys can see it.
Google Eyes or Figlet.
What?
Do you have
Google
anything
Eyes or Figlet?
that'll spin up the video card? Does it have the integrated graphics as well? And can it do the
This
whole
doesn't
switching
do
back?
switching.
Okay.
It is all NVIDIA all the time, to the best of my knowledge. I don't believe this has Intel in addition.
So what is the backup?
You're pushing me on this, and you're going to make me answer it. So I will answer the question. So
15 minutes?
If he carries one right.
well, it depends on what I'm doing with it. So I'll get just a little closer
You
here.
make it through a 1-hour meeting in Google Hangouts.
Oh
Yes.
God, no. No one can do that.
Well, can the battery make it through, or can you make it through?
Yeah.
So it is Linux Mint 18.2. And I happen to be running a newer kernel. I'm on the 4.11.0/14. And you can see my different sizes and the fact that I have a home directory that's mounted separately. And if I do my free again, you'll see that I have 32 gigs of RAM, and I'm only barely using 600 megs of it. Anyway, but you asked me an important question. What is battery life? Well, let's go find out. And the answer is you can't see it. Let's see.
Fully charged.
Yeah.
Well, we've been at it for like 45
Even
minutes.
fall.
It's plugged in.
Yeah.
How long does
Okay.
the battery actually last?
Well, I was worried you would ask me that.
I was gonna
So
ask
did you
that.
just unplug it?
Yeah, I just unplugged it.
It hasn't
And it
powered off
says-
yet.
Come on.
Yeah.
9, 8, 7.
Are you counting down until
and bear
the...
in mind that it's not actually doing anything useful with the video card.
Come on.
So can you throttle the video card to,
You know, this
when
is
you're on
being
battery?
obnoxious here.
Yeah, does it have all the power management stuff? Like,
Overclock.
Oh,
No,
come
you
on.
want to underclock.
It does. I can overclock and underclock from the BIOS. I can't for the life of me get my camera to behave to see that. It's just not the color it wants to see. So right now I know it's wrong because it says using battery power, 36 hours, 58 minutes remaining. That's not right.
No, no.
That will update shortly. Let me pull up my battery info here. Hang on. Let's see. Battery.
PM, something.
Power management. Batteries. Yeah, it's still saying the same thing. Using battery power, 36 hours, 58 minutes. It will update in a second.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, that's amazing. Okay, the reality is about 2 hours.
Okay.
That's actually still better
but
than I thought.
that's doing what you're doing now.
Still
Yeah,
better- still
gaming,
better than
About
expected.
45 minutes of heavy gaming with an NVIDIA, with the video card cranked up. You do not... Okay, it's time to talk about weight, because I lied about something. I didn't deliberately lie. I simply omitted a small fact. I'm going to demonstrate this way, and this is going to require me to kind of do some under-the-desk diving. This is my Apple power supply. It's nice and small, about that big, and it's square.
Oh, I
That's my
85
Apple.
watts.
Yeah. So this plug goes up to my actual brick. Do you remember how I showed you that it was about as long as my finger, about like that? That's just the width of it. This thing is freaking massive. It is a 230, let me see that, where is it? No, I can't find it. I think it's 230 watt, yes, I just found it. It is a 230 watt power supply right there.
How many volts?
It's 11.
19.5 volts,
It's at
11.8 amps.
Nice.
On a laptop. I think maybe I'm omitting some important information about this laptop. So here's what I'm going to do now. I'm going to switch away from showing you the live laptop, and we're going to do a little bit of screen capping here. And the reason I'm going to do that is, let's see, let's pull up Firefox here, and I'm going to capture the Firefox screen so you can see it. This may take a minute, but only a minute. I just need to resize a little bit to get the right aspect ratio and nice screen size and all that. Oops. About like that. Now let me share this.
Look at the chapter.
Yeah.
Somebody's doing stuff with Tetris.
Are you watching it on Twitch?
It's changing
Not
color.
at the moment,
Oh,
but I am watching that.
okay.
So is it more like
I
a
can't really
mobile
watch
workstation?
anything, including
Would be a better
YouTube.
way to describe it.
This one is, yes.
Because the graphics card is so old.
Yeah.
It's a luggable.
Yeah.
No, I've seen a luggable. This is not. I don't need a...
It's not as bad as the original Mac laptop with the lead acid battery in it.
Oh, yeah.
Lead acid, really?
Just had a car
Yes,
battery?
really.
Stick
Like
it
it had
in
a
the
car
battery.
battery in
You're
it.
talking about the Macintosh portable?
Or was-
Yeah, I think that's what they called it, the very
Yeah.
original one.
It was introduced in '89.
Like a
Yeah,
briefcase.
yeah.
Yeah.
It was
Okay.
technically kind of like a.
It was
luggable-
like 4 inches thick at the back end.
It was technically a luggable, I think.
It wasn't quite an Osborne, but
Yeah,
But LCD or CRC?
LCD.
one of the first
Monochrome,
LCDs.
I think.
There was like a
Yeah, it was a
CRT
monochrome
portable
LCD.
computer. It was like in a briefcase.
Yeah, compact, yeah.
Yeah, or something. Yeah, that one.
Compact.
It was
Yeah,
like
well, the
a precursor
Osborne
to a
was
laptop.
like,
Yeah.
it was like this big, it looked like an old oscilloscope with
Yeah.
the screen in it, and the
Yeah.
fold-down keyboard.
Yeah,
Didn't that
sounds about
screen just show you 40 columns and then you had to click something to get the other 40 columns?
Maybe, I
It
don't
was
remember.
awful.
So here's the part that's going to shock you all. This isn't the heaviest laptop they make.
Bonobo.
So they have some nice things. They have show you portability and storage, and over here they show you how portable they are. Like this is the super portable. It's the real tiny 13-inch. It's nice and tight, but of course its CPU performance isn't so great. And then you get down to these.
Portability.
Portability
Not so
starts
much.
to decrease. Well, if you think this thing is huge, the Oryx, the Bonobo, oh my goodness, this thing is absurd. And the things you can put in it, oh my, this is starting to sound like a Dr. Seuss joke. Oh, the things you can put in
Yeah,
it.
dual GPUs. That's why.
Dual
Dual
1070s.
NVIDIA GTXs, yes. This thing is designed for the demanding is an understatement.
Oh,
Look
yeah.
at the back on that thing.
What are you really gonna do with that graphics card?
Well, what else would you do with that
Kinda
much?
Mesmerize the audience.
You're going to frag a lot of people really fast. This thing is a desktop system. I mean, you're using pretty much everything. it's just nuts. So you can get in here and you can get stupid. So let's just make the sales guys salivate for a little bit. We're going to pick our build. We're going to do Ubuntu 1706. Yes, your choices are only Ubuntu 1603 and Ubuntu 1704. That's it. And this particular laptop only comes with the 17.3. You have your choice between
16 gigs.
16 gig, yeah, plus $1,495.
What are the choices on Ubuntu?
Wait.
Oh, your choices for Ubuntu are only 1604 and 1704.
So LTS or the latest?
Yes, and the latest is highly recommended with these laptops. And then we're getting we've got the ridiculous screen, the 4K 17-inch display. That might be a little overkill.
Dual 1080.
Dual 1080s. 1080s is nuts. And let's go with a 4.5 gigahertz i770K. These are not laptop processors. A 770K, i7 7700K.
Wow.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
Let's give it 64 gig of RAM because why the heck not?
Dual 2 terabyte.
Well,
Oh no, only.
yeah, this is the M2, right? So we're going to do an M2 and we're going to do a 1 terabyte. And
Wait, they have the 2 terabyte M2.
well, yeah, but all right, fine. How expensive do you want this laptop to be?
So 50,000.
Well, here's your second
Your
M2.
lottery
So
laptop.
we're going to do a 2 terabyte in that one too, and then you have an additional 2.5 inch drive, and we're going to put
4 terabytes.
a 4 terabyte in that, and another 2.5 terabyte drive. So we're going to put another one in that. And what the heck? Let's pop for the 67 megabit per second. And that'll come with a 660 watt charger. We're not going to get a second one because why would you need that? You might need the laptop bag because otherwise your shoulder might fall off. And
We
let's
get a
skimp on the
wheelbarrow.
coverage and no Canadian and no, a normal assembly. We're not going to do anything crazy. $11,793.
My God.
Push purchase.
Let me just get out my corporate credit card and no, I'm not going to do that. Bad.
Add to cart.
Although,
You can make payments on it.
let me just check something. Let me just check something here.
Do you have enough Bitcoin to buy it?
So how many hard drives do we have?
4. And 12 terabytes of storage.
Wow.
Yeah, I think that's a little obscene, don't
You
you?
do like a lot of rendering.
Um,
Yeah.
I have to know here.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's the only time I can think
What
of.
denomination?
It does.
I have to
I'm
know,
talking about like maybe like teleproduction or something.
just to see. Well, the current price of Bitcoin is 4,024, so you'd only need a few Bitcoins to purchase this thing.
Oh, wow.
Anyway,
So,
okay.
what was that guy who bought socks or whatever with his Bitcoin?
Yo, he's so upset right now. Let's bring this back down because we built a really obscene system that's beyond what any normal person would actually get. And I do want to bring it to a reality of, let's do a faster drive, right? We're going to do a really good 500 gig NVE drive. That's not a shabby drive, right? And let's drop down to 32 gig of RAM because that's not necessary.
Speak for yourself.
Okay, well fine, let's keep the 64 gig of RAM, but instead, do you really need
No, just one.
Yeah.
One.
Let's do, now I'm going to do the 1080 because
Oh, yeah.
that's why you're
Of
buying
course.
this laptop, right? You're going to do the 1080, and that brings the price down to
4122. It's right at the top.
4122. I think that's a little more reasonable, right?
Good enough for a side France.
What?
Good enough for a side.
That's,
Aside
that's
from-
like a slightly upgraded Mac laptop right there.
Yeah.
Go to apple.com and price out a MacBook Pro. That's,
Yeah, they're just as expensive.
Yeah.
I've seen MacBook Pros hit 64. I'm
Oh,
sorry,
wow.
I'm sorry, $4,000, 4,600.
yeah.
It's
Wow.
possible. But the reality is, you're probably not going to buy the laptop I even got. The Bonobo is ridiculous. It's actual desktop parts. The Oryx I got because I need reasonable performance for what I'm doing. I need a good processor because I'm doing lots of virtual machines for the work I'm doing.
And work is paying for it.
Well, I still save them money.
Yeah.
I mean,
You have to carry it around too.
your
Right
point?
here, they're doing a $50 special now.
Oh, yeah, I know. Oh,
Wait,
well.
did you say this was a work machine?
Yeah.
What?
I kind of actually vaguely remember hearing this one.
We're not going to talk about that. Anyway,
Camera's going in the room.
this is totally legitimate, and I'll discuss afterward. But yes, this is a pilot. I don't know if it's going to fly. It's a one-off, and it's not an everybody can go do it yet. But there is a lot of Linux at work, and it just seems like it's the right thing to do. Now, let's be honest. Most people don't need what I bought. They just don't.
1080p, unacceptable.
Well, okay. This one might not have the option for the better display. I got a 4K display in mine. You can still get an i7 7700 HQ. That's still a really good processor. And do the same 32 gig of RAM and the same. Let's see. Let's really
You
go.
couldn't get a Xeon in this, could you?
Probably not.
Even in the high-end one.
So that's $1,496 for a really good build. I mean, I didn't skimp here. I got a 3.8 gigahertz processor, quad core, 8
2
thread.
gigs of RAM.
Yeah,
It's like
32 gig of RAM,
600 bucks
What else?
a year.
Yeah.
500 gig SSD. Now, if I drop down a little bit, and don't go with the insane hard drive and the extra hard drives, I mean, the price is $1,426. That's not bad for a laptop with such good specs. Out the gate, though, I mean, if you just configure it a little bit more conservatively and go with a 2-core, if you're not doing massive stuff, although the price, I got to tell you guys, the price, I would spend, so your base price, you're only $95 more to go from a 2-core to a 4-core. I would do it personally.
But they're both 4 threads. There's no hyper-threading on that.
No, this is 8 threads.
Right, but the other one,
No, this is
that one's
2
4
cores.
threads. Go to the right.
Yeah, but
That
this
one's
is
4
4.
threads. That's odd.
And the
No,
other one is 8
this is a
thread.
part that isn't hyper-threaded.
I know.
That's
But
i5,
why?
i5.
Why? What's the point?
What's the point? You don't. Well, some applications you don't want hyper-threading. Tears? What's that?
It's got twice the cache.
More money.
Yeah, it definitely has. Yeah, that helps. And you know what? The difference? It's $100, but you know that's not a bad price. And you probably don't need 32 gig. Most people don't need that much. And using the lower speed drive, yeah, you're at $1,188 for a really decent laptop. And you can go cheaper. I mean, you can get their lower end products. Their cheapest laptop is this Lemur 14-inch at $749. So they have, reasonable stuff. Yes, it is going to cost more than what you're going to find at Costco, but it's not bad. And I've been honestly pretty happy with it. So I'm going to stop here because I've ranted about a lot of different things. Somebody in chat said, 660 watt charger, you mean PC power supply?
Yeah, my desktop's got like a 760 watt, and I thought that was kind of ludicrous. But on a laptop, it's insane. That thing's going to catch you on fire probably if you have it in your lap.
Oh, so a friend of mine online said, Media Magnet said that the Area 51 gaming laptops through Dell are every bit as expensive as that. Yeah, they get pretty nutty. Okay, so does anybody in chat have any questions, and does anybody in the room have any questions about this laptop, the company, what the out-of-box experience was like, things like that?
Why can't you get a Xeon processor in
Probably Intel wouldn't let them.
They probably wouldn't. It's a server processor. But
There
I'm
are
sure,
laptops that you can get Xeons in.
I know, I've
They're
seen.
insane. And, this one is obviously insane with dual 1080 GTX graphics card.
It might actually be possible in this lane, but only because I'm interested in it.
Alan, I've been running Ubuntu Mate for quite a while.
Mate? Is it Mate or Mate? I've always wondered about this.
Well, go look it up. It's Mate.
Mate!
Most of the time, there's no accent mark over the E, but it's supposed to have one.
Yeah, no, I don't think they have any that have Xeon.
So, if I got one of these, it comes, pre-set up with Ubuntu.
Mhm.
So what do I do about having Mate?
Boot off of a USB
The exact same
drive
thing I did,
and-
yeah.
There are
Wipe
ways
it and
you have
reinstall.
To install other
Yeah.
desktop environments on there. You just Google it.
So ultimately, the
To
question,
install and lighten it.
since you're in the back of the room, I'll repeat it for those on the stream. Your question was basically, why, what do you do if you want to swap the OS? It's actually not that bad. In my case, I was not too thrilled with Ubuntu with Unity. I need multimedia stuff because I do stream with OBS, and I also do a lot of graphics heavy things on the side, and just various, I use this laptop for a lot of different things. So I needed something that had the repositories in Ubuntu, but wasn't the god-awfulness of Unity. And for me, that meant I wanted to really, really install Linux Mint straight. Eventually, I'll probably get rid of Ubuntu entirely and install Cubes, but that's another story for another day. So what I did was I went to the Linux Mint website, downloaded the USB key image, wrote the image. In fact, on the same laptop, it's always fun when you're making the installation image that you plan to then use. You're using the operating system you're about to shoot in the head to download. It's kind of a mean thing to do, I got to say. But I just booted off of that, and UEFI booted, no problem. I could have told the system to legacy BIOS boot if I wanted to. I repartitioned and I changed the sizes so that I reduced the size of the Ubuntu image and just shrunk it, and that went so sickeningly fast on here it wasn't even funny. The hard drive in there is pretty good. You asked me which hard drive I got, and the answer is this one. I went with the 512.
Yummy.
I went with this one. Yes, it's absurd. Sequential read of 3,500 megabytes a second. They're not kidding.
Wow.
Yeah, copying data from this to something else, you're probably going to hit limits on the PCI bus. Anyway, it's a really easy process to resize and just install it alongside or blow it away. You can definitely do that. You could do that with Mate if you wanted to. You could even stick with Ubuntu and install Mate through a repo if you wanted to.
Yeah, shouldn't be that hard.
Before I get to you, you had a question over here.
Yeah, if I can remember what it was, come back to me.
Okay.
Well, actually, I don't.
Oh, yeah.
Can your 230 watt transformer even keep up with your video card and CPU while you're like gaming?
Yes, it is enough. It is enough, yeah.
I almost find it hard to believe.
You almost found that hard to believe. There's one subtlety here. The 1070, first of all, is on a 16 nanometer process compared to earlier video cards. So that definitely makes a huge impact. And the other subtlety is it is not a mobile component. However, it is clocked lower.
Oh, okay.
It is oddly has a higher number of CUDA cores in Linux. Let me try that again. This 1070 has a higher number of CUDA cores but a lower base clock. So it's this kind of weird monkeying they did. But it comes out to about the same power as a desktop, just slightly less. If you do benchmark comparisons, they're not off by much. I mean, it's definitely not like having a mobile component. I have not yet been able to put this fully through its paces. I'm probably going to bust out some 3D heavy game eventually to do that. But yeah, 230 watts is actually enough. Let's see, you had a question over there.
Yeah, did you use DD or NetBootIn to take your boot image off the computer and put it onto your floppy, your thumb drive? You didn't
Did
do
I use
that.
NetBoot to copy to my floppy? No, I did not.
To your thumb drive.
Don't copy that one.
NetBootIn-
Don't copy that floppy. As I explained earlier, I wrote the Linux Mint install to the USB key, just
With?
using the USB writing tool. The
What
Linux comes with
USB
one.
writing?
There's one in Windows. If you happen to be blighted with Windows, you can defenestrate it using a number of tools. Yeah, I like defenestrating
I would
Windows.
love to see a system where you're running Linux and you make a RAM disk and you install the new installer onto that RAM disk and boot off of it. That would
Challenge
be
accepted in 2012. Oh, look, it's not 2012 anymore. I'm sorry. You can actually do that. I know that it's possible. Would you be so kind as to toggle the light on the far left, I believe? Wait, no, middle one. Whatever, I don't care. That one splashes the screen more, but... Yes, all right, we're back. So to answer your question, there are a number of ways to write a bootable image. I could have just as easily attached an external DVD drive and burned it to a DVD if I wanted to. But for my case, I just burned it. I just used a writing tool in Linux. It's actually called USB Image Writer to copy the ISO directly to the USB key, or not copy it, but to
right.
load that image. Yeah, if you drop an ISO file on a USB key, you won't be able to boot off of that thing, just so you know.
Raj has another question for me.
Okay, you first.
Your tool that you were just talking about,
Yes.
is that specific to Linux?
Yes.
Cinnamon,
The USB
Mate?
image writing tool is available in almost every Linux distribution out there, and there are similar tools under Windows. It's a very well documented process. You don't have to bust out DD unless you want to.
So it's not specific to Mate, Cinnamon?
No.
No.
Okay.
No, it's in Fedora. It's not even specific to Ubuntu-based or Debian-based.
If I started typing at the run command, it would find it for me, right?
No,
Well, you got to install it.
you got to install it,
Okay.
and that might not be the command. Can this run Crisis? Well, let's find out if I have Crisis.
I was wondering.
Can
Yeah,
anything really run Crisis?
I don't know. I hope so.
It can run Crisis.
It's Ubuntu, so you can put Steam on there.
Well, actually, Crisis didn't come out for Linux, did it? So it can't run Crisis.
But it can run Windows.
It's,
It could run
there's
Windows
no-
if you have the right
it's
driver.
working.
I don't think there's like a new version.
Yeah,
There's
that could be,
Crisis.
it could be done if you have the right drivers. If you have the right
Oh,
drivers.
don't do that. Okay,
Oh, that's not right.
there we go. It's not safe to run Steam. Okay,
Probably
I can't find out if I have Crisis in my library or not. I think I have Crisis. If I have Crisis, then yes, I probably could. You guys are hilarious. And any other chat requests, just let me know. I'm going to answer questions in the room, though. So what was your question?
So, having the 1070 graphics card almost seems kind of overkill. How would you compare this to maybe doing like an external GPU setup?
External GPUs have issues. I've considered that option. I have definitely considered that option on a number of occasions, and I opted to avoid it simply because I'm actually pointing this camera at you guys now. Haha. I opted to avoid it simply because you can't quite get the speed you need off the PCI bus. There's latency issues. There's all kinds of problems. Now, it's getting better, but it's just expensive and not worth it. I'm not saying you can't, but I got the 1070 because it added some extra features. If you go on this particular laptop in particular, if you go from the 1060 to the 1070, you get better audio, a couple other small tweaks. Yes, it increases the weight too, but it allows from some other things. So I went that direction because it made the most sense. I won't have to worry about replacing this laptop anytime in the near future.
Was there a work use case for it as well? Or?
So Shambler, no, I was not using this laptop for the recent Monkey Ball testing. The Monkey Ball testing was all on console 100%. The stuff I did at Harvey Relief Done Quick, the marathon I just did 2 weeks ago, that was running on my desktop at home. I was running Dolphin with an overclocked 6800, I want to say, overclocked to 4.6 gigahertz. So, and running inside of a virtual machine running Windows because that's where Dolphin works best. But with PCI pass-through, so I pass through my video card. But that's another system for another day and an entirely other talk that I'd like to give sometime. Yes?
What kind of physical access do you have to the RAM and hard drive?
Full. Yeah, and there's full instructions on how to get under the keyboard. There's full instructions on how to open it up. It is accessible to the nth degree.
Is the processor soldered on?
No, I don't think it is. It
Really?
might not be socketed on. It might be socketed on this one, but it's not socketed on in the Bonobo.
Jesus.
I don't know about the Oryx. I'd have to double check to see if it's socketed on the Oryx. But I know it's socketed on the Bonobo. Unless I misunderstood what the page just said. Yeah, no, that's also why this laptop is so much thicker. And even without a DVD drive. Oh, you know, that's one thing I didn't really talk about much. There's no DVD drive on this thing. Instead, there are, I never talked about ports. There are a number of ports, and I'm going to try to do it from, actually, I'm going to try to do it from this angle where the light is coming in better. And I might actually have half a chance of being able to see it.
You have a display port?
Pretty good.
Hey, there we go.
It comes with lots of things. So,
USB 3.0.
hey, that's nice. So you have two USB 3.0s. You have two USB-Cs right there. And then you have this little thing. Anybody know what that is?
HDMI display port.
That is,
Mini display port?
Micro HDMI.
it's also the same connector that Thunderbolt uses, but it does not have Thunderbolt, which is really obnoxious. So that would be a display port type thing. I'm actually,
It's a non-standard display port?
no, it's not. It's actually not non-standard. In fact, if you look at this laptop
What's the
setup,
mini display port? The display port's
yeah.
larger.
So this is a Thunderbolt port connector. So you can see here that that's how I'm using the Mac here, and that's how I'm getting out to the projector with one of these. Oops, let me get a little farther over here. Mini display port. So this is a mini display port standard. It's not Apple specific. It just happens to be the exact same form factor as Thunderbolt. There's another one.
HDMI there.
Yeah, there's another mini. So you've got two of the mini display ports and an HDMI. Here's the power connector, and then there's the massive grills.
Yeah.
There's an Ethernet.
Lock.
There's a little lock there, which my new laptop doesn't have. There's a full Ethernet. There's another USB. There's an MMC. There's a SIM card there, which is nice and handy. And there's three of these things. There's three holes here. There's headphones, microphone, and also SPDIF. And I haven't figured out if it also does other things. And then, of course, you guys saw that it has the touch screen. This has classic lights, so it has all the lights you would expect on the front. Hard drive, battery power. Let's see if I can get this to display what my battery is. And the answer now is 1 hour and 22 minutes.
You've been unplugged for about...
Well, I've had my
We ran through 33 hours.
well, yeah, I know.
Does it say what the percentage is?
You just said.
No, he said time.
Oh,
You
yeah.
gotta do like
Yeah.
upper power, TAC I, in order to figure out the information from.
So, what's a good way to just peg all the cores?
Charge. Oh, I don't know. I don't really want to destroy my laptop, but wait, this is the one I'm returning, so let's do it. I'm not destroying the laptop, but I'm going to put it through its paces.
Yes, into dev, no.
I could try Bitcoin mining with CPU, but that's a bad idea because it would take a while.
Compile with kernel.
Sure.
DD devu random pipe to MD5 in 8 separate shells.
No. I
Why
would
not?
pass. It would work,
No,
but it would
but
take a
no.
long time to type all that.
Yes,
Um,
no, it does work.
Well,
So-
Multiple shots.
well, or 4IN.
Compile Linux
Yeah, if you got the kernel source.
using all your cores.
Oh, yeah.
Open yes dev null. No media. I'm not doing that. Now there is one thing I did have to do, which was the Bluetooth in here wasn't working out of the box after I installed Linux Mint. And it turns out there is a Linux-firmware package, and there's also firmware you can go get, which I think I have.
Is it open? Or is it blobs?
So yeah, there's this Linux firmware package here. I don't know if you guys are going to be able to see it. That is a package available directly from kernel.org, and as far as I know, it's all open. But I don't know for certain. I might be wrong on that. Now let's talk about this. This is not a Librem. This laptop solves a different problem. This one still has Intel's, what do they call it? Their active, their what engine? Their management engine? Yeah, this one still has that enabled fully. It's running Intel's microcode. There are no hardware switches to disable the camera. There are no hardware switches to disable the microphone. This is not a privacy-oriented laptop. If you want that, go look back at my talk on the Librem. I got a Librem 15-inch laptop personally that I use for travel and for security, and I'm running cubes on that. And it is designed for security, and it is designed for privacy. That is not this laptop. This laptop is designed for ease of use out of the box. In a lot of ways, as much as I like the Purism company and what the Librem laptop is, the out-of-box experience with the Purism laptop was not as good as the System76. Also, the components selection from the Librem was not nearly as good. Their volume is lower, and as a result, they didn't get a very good deal on 4K displays, and finally had to retract the 4K model for Purism because they simply couldn't source the displays. System76 has enough volume now that they can actually get equipment, which is good. And it's interesting to note, and I'm not saying that this is just System76 that's responsible for this, but we crossed a critical threshold. There's now over 3% of desktop users actively using Linux as their daily operating system, according to the latest stats. And that's an impressive threshold because we've been underneath that for so long.
And that's not including Chrome OS, right?
That's not including Chrome OS, to the best of my knowledge.
Which is
And
doing
that's also
pretty
not
well
including
also.
Android. So getting over that 3% barrier is actually good. It's a surprising change. And I think some of that comes from Apple, quite honestly, not doing anything all that revolutionary in their operating system for quite a while. And Microsoft just making everybody completely upset about telemetry. But that's my own personal perspective. I can't guarantee that. Okay, so I talked about firmware. I talked about privacy-oriented. Are there any other questions that people had about the laptop or the out-of-box experience? And any other remaining questions from the Twitch chat? And they get grace. They won't hear what I said for about 20 seconds, so I'll give them a